G'day Koala crew, welcome to Imola, where overtaking is nearly impossible. Unless, of course, your teammate suddenly forgets how defending works. And McLando, learn a lesson. Just not the one you were hoping for. So Lando gets a courtesy pass, Max drives away, again, and somehow, it's not a team order? Yeah, right.
G'day, Papaya Koala here with another episode of how McLando learned their lesson about how to help Lando at Oscar's expense. Again, here we go again. This video is parody and personal opinion delivered by a fictional koala. It is not news, not fact-checked reporting, and not meant to be taken literally. Any dramatic conclusions are for laughs only. If that bothers you, well, Sky has a broadcast for that. Ciao from Emilia-Romagna, also known as Imola, the home of Ferraro. The track where McLando claimed they learnt something, not about fairness, not about strategy, not about consistency, nope. They learned only one thing. Never let Oscar benefit from a team decision, but absolutely let Lando benefit whenever possible. Oscar starts on pole, but Max gets the jump and snatches the lead. No problem. Oscar hangs there, cool and calm, because unlike some, he doesn't panic every time there's a car in front of him. Meanwhile, Snake Stallard is back on his usual nonsense with the moment-by-moment thread updates about, you guessed it, Albon again. As if Albon is somehow the protagonist of Oscar's race, while Oscar is literally fighting Max for the lead. Snake's radio sounds like he's calling a horse race or playing strategy roulette. We're on plan A, actually plan C. No, wait, maybe plan B. Yes, plan C. Let's confirm plan C, unless plan B is better. At this point, Oscar could be forgiven for wondering if Snake is reading the wrong team's notes, or just panicking because Lando claimed he had tyre issues again. Naturally, the second Lando even vaguely hints at or whinges about tyre problems, McLando slammed the big red box button and panic pit Oscar early. The same Oscar who was holding steady and actually managing his tyres just fine. And once Oscar is pitted out of the way, trapped behind traffic, magically Lando's tyres are now totally fine. What a turnaround, mate! No more complaints. Not a single radio whinge, which is itself suspicious. The moment he's in clean air, suddenly the car is perfect. Incredible recovery. Almost miraculous, you could say. Woo! Are we seeing the pattern yet? Oscar out in front. Suddenly Lando has tyre problems. Urgent, concerning, must be managed. So they pit Oscar out of the way. And then somehow Lando's tyres are perfectly fine to keep going. Every single time. Now, as Oscar's engineer, Snake should be well aware of this routine by now, and yet it keeps happening, which leaves two possibilities. Either the Snake is oblivious and the lesson never quite sticks, or Lando is having tyre issues has become shorthand for a strategic reshuffle. And Snake, ever eager to execute any plan that will help Lando, does exactly that.
My tyres, dirty air, my tyres!
Lando is whinging about dirty air. Again. No problem, I'll just pit Oscar out of the way, so it's easier for Lando.
Oscar, meanwhile, is now stuck carving his way through midfielders like a chainsaw through butter, because once again the team pit him in the least optimal place possible. Then we get a safety car. The perfect moment to pit Oscar, so he isn't a sitting duck on worn tyres. Do they pit him? Of course not. Why? Because it might give him back the advantage over Lando again, and that is simply not allowed under the sacred scriptures of the Lando era. While Oscar is tiptoeing around on dying tyres but still maintaining a safe gap back to Lando, who can't seem to stay in DRS, Lando gets on the radio with the now classic Lando line,
I'm just saying, let's not make it hard for me.
Translation? Please move the Australian out of my way so I don't have to attempt a real overtake and risk humiliating myself again. Cue McLando.
With Japan in mind, we don't want to repeat the same mistake. We'll let them race.
Right. Let them race. Which is an open admission that they actually didn't let them race in Japan, despite their claims to the contrary. But the second they say, we'll let them race, Oscar gets one of those suspicious Albon warnings from Snake. Oscar, Albon is doing something irrelevant. It's practically code now. So yes, Lando gets past. But let's be clear, Oscar isn't actually defending. How do we know he wasn't defending? Because if Oscar had been defending, Lando would still be staring at his rear wing. Because, as Lando has demonstrated throughout his entire F1 career, he struggles to pass cars on track even when he's in a clearly faster car. In equal machinery? Haha, no. This wasn't some heroic overtake, it was a courtesy pass. And Papaya Koala notices the difference.
No! It wasn't a team order!
They insist, which is fascinating, because it had all the hallmarks of a team order, just delivered with the subtlety of a hammer wrapped in velvet. No radio message specifically saying, swap now. Just a carefully curated sequence of strategic nudges, timing miracles, and selective blindness. You know, the usual post-race masterpiece. And here's the best part. Lando never actually catches Max. Because, well, he simply doesn't have the pace. He never did. Yet somehow, mysteriously, or should I say typically, the position is not given back, just like Lando never has, after the many, many, many times Oscar has been ordered to move aside. Why? Because we're told it wasn't a team order. Even though everyone watching, listening, and still drawing breath knows exactly what it was. We're apparently meant to believe that Oscar, one of the strongest defenders on the grid, suddenly forgot how mirrors work. At a track where overtaking is harder than finding an unbiased headline, against Lando, statistically one of the least effective overtakers in F1, yeah, sure. Right. Lando didn't suddenly become the second coming of Senna, Oscar didn't suddenly lose all spatial awareness, and physics didn't take the weekend off. The mental gymnastics required to accept this narrative are Olympic level. Even the mighty Schumacher, in a clearly faster Ferraro, couldn't get past Alonso's slower Renault here at Imola in 2005. 13 laps. No mistakes, no drama. Just immaculate defense. Schumacher, for context, was famously very good at overtaking at Imola. Lando is not famously good at overtaking. At all. Period. So the idea that Lando was simply going to breeze past Oscar in equal machinery at this track without a little help, let's just say history, geometry, and basic racing physics all politely raise an eyebrow and sip their espresso. What actually happened is much simpler. Oscar was managed and Lando was protected, so it wasn't hard for him. And the words team order were politely left outside so everyone could pretend nothing awkward occurred. Call it what you want. Strategy, race management, vibes. But if it walks like a team order and quacks like a team order, it's still a team order. Oscar fights through the midfield, tyre degradation, dirty air, bad strategy, and an engineer seemingly more focused on Lando's race than his own. And at the end, Snake's sly response over Oscar's radio. Help where you can, Oscar. P3.
Which also feels a lot like an admission that it really was team-ordered assistance for Lando, despite McLando's desperate claims to the contrary. But
why is Oscar the one who has to help where he can? Where is Lando ever asked to help Oscar? Why is it always Oscar doing the heavy lifting while Lando gets wrapped in bubble wrap and praise? Then Snake Stallard finishes with the pièce de résistance. That's not the race we wanted. No kidding, Snake. Definitely not the race Oscar wanted. But given the strategy, radio distractions, and priorities, you have to wonder if this wasn't exactly the race some members of the team wanted, including Snake. Because one thing is certain, McLando may claim they learned their lesson in Japan, but all they really learned was how to apply those lessons selectively, always to Lando's benefit, never Oscar's. If racing still matters to you, smash like for Imola. Subscribe, where real legends race and excuses just want it easier. Join the channel if you want history to remember the truth, not the press releases.
if you'd like to support the channel, you can now buy us a coffee. It directly funds more questionable observations and ongoing investigations into things that are definitely normal.